You know how sometimes your dog sees you and instead of jumping straight into your arms or wagging like crazy, they just stretch? Well, what if I told you that move isn't just your dog waking up from a nap or loosening their muscles? It could actually mean something way deeper. Now, I know you're probably thinking, wait, what? A stretch? My dog does that every day. Exactly. That's the point. It's so common that we don't even question it. Curious to find out what it means? Keep your eyes glued to your screen till the end. Stretching as emotional regulation. When people think about stretching in dogs, they often assume it is only about loosening up muscles or preparing for movement. But the truth is far more fascinating. Beyond its physical purpose, stretching works like an emotional tool for dogs, a quiet way of helping them deal with how they feel inside. It is almost as if their bodies naturally find small tricks to balance the excitement, the stress, or the joy they experience every day. Have you ever wondered why your dog seems to pause and take that deep stretch just as you walk through the door? It may look ordinary, but it is really a window into how they regulate themselves in moments of strong emotion. When a dog stretches at the sight of their owner, it is not just a casual action. It is a subtle process of self-regulation, one that involves both the muscles and the nervous system. Experts have even given this act a name: pandiculation, a mix of stretching and yawning. Much like humans do before they exercise, dogs use this motion to prepare not only their bodies but also their emotions for what is about to happen. Think of it as their natural way of pressing a reset button, preparing to greet you without letting their excitement overwhelm them. Is it not remarkable that such a simple movement carries so much hidden meaning? In many cases, stretching shows up when dogs are dealing with positive excitement. For instance, some breeds like Border Collies may greet their owners with enthusiasm, stretch, and then move straight to a comforting activity like suckling on a toy or curling into a familiar spot. They are not distressed when they do this, but rather, they are channeling happiness in a way they can manage. It is their method of keeping joy from spilling over into chaos. Who would think that joy itself could be something that needs managing? Yet, for a dog, even happiness must be balanced. Stretching also acts as a quiet form of emotional release. Through this one action, a dog can ease tension, regulate breathing, and settle the rhythm of their heartbeat. It brings them calm, even in the middle of excitement, much like how humans sometimes take a deep breath when they feel overwhelmed. Over time, many owners notice that their dogs begin to repeat this behavior in specific settings, almost like a ritual. They may do it every time you come home from work, partly because it feels good, and partly because your warm response has reinforced it. Without realizing it, owners often turn these small stretches into special greeting ceremonies. Another layer to this behavior lies in the social language of dogs, often referred to as calming signals. These are subtle cues dogs use to avoid tension and maintain peace within their social groups. Stretching belongs to this set of signals, alongside movements such as walking slowly in curves, shaking off as if drying themselves, sitting down, yawning in a particular way, or performing a play bow. Each of these gestures communicates something simple but important. I am not a threat. I want peace. I am calm. Would it not be fascinating if humans had such clear nonverbal tools for diffusing tension? Short, repeated stretches can often be observed in stressful situations like meeting unfamiliar guests, visiting the vet, or hearing sudden noises. These stretches do not necessarily mean the dog is uncomfortable in their body. Instead, they serve as displacement behaviors, ways of coping with conflicted emotions. A dog may want the treat offered by a stranger but feel hesitant about approaching. So it stretches to soothe itself and signal calmness. By paying attention to these little details, owners can start to understand far more about what their dogs are feeling in the moment. The context in which stretching occurs changes its meaning. A stretch paired with a wagging tail often points to playfulness and a readiness for fun. On the other hand, a stretch combined with yawning may signal the early stages of stress or unease. This is why observing a dog's body language as a whole paints a clearer picture than focusing on one action alone. After all, can a single movement mean the same thing in every situation? Clearly not. Dogs, like people, communicate through layers of signals that only make full sense when seen together. Recognizing these patterns gives owners a stronger bond with their dogs. It shifts the interaction from simple observation to true understanding. Instead of assuming every stretch is just about muscles, one begins to see it as part of a larger emotional vocabulary. When a dog stretches in your presence, it is sharing more than a physical gesture. It is telling you how it feels in that moment, whether calm, happy, conflicted, or in need of reassurance. Does this not deepen the appreciation for how intelligent and emotionally aware dogs really are? In the end, stretching is not just a bodily action. It is a form of communication, a means of self-care, and a social tool wrapped into one. The more closely owners pay attention to these small details, the more connected they become with their dogs. What looks like a simple stretch after a nap or a playful bend before a run might actually be one of the ways dogs manage their world, regulate their feelings, and reach out for connection. And perhaps the greatest reward for noticing these cues is realizing that through such tiny gestures, dogs invite us into their emotional lives, showing that every stretch holds a story worth listening to. They laughed, they mocked, they even called it pointless. Why would a country build thousands of kilometers of fences? But 10 years later, those same people weren't laughing anymore. Want to know what changed? Stay till the very end, because the truth will shock you. The physical side of stretching. When looking at the way dogs stretch, one might wonder if it is simply a cute little quirk, or if there is something deeper going on. The truth is, just like humans stretch when they wake up or before physical activity, dogs stretch for many important reasons, both physical and instinctive. It is not only about comfort or habit, but also about preparing their bodies to function properly. Dogs rely heavily on stretching to keep their muscles loose, their joints flexible, and their circulation flowing. And really, who can deny how good it feels to see a dog give that big, dramatic stretch first thing in the morning? But is it only about feeling good, or is there more to it? In many ways, stretching acts as a warm-up for dogs. Before engaging in any kind of physical activity, they instinctively know to stretch their muscles. It works almost the same way athletes warm up before a game. By doing so, dogs increase blood flow to their muscles, improve flexibility, and gradually raise their heart rate, all of which prepares them for action. Imagine a dog about to sprint across a field or chase after a ball. Without a good stretch beforehand, the risk of pulling a muscle or straining a joint would be higher. Nature has equipped dogs with this built-in routine that ensures their bodies are ready to perform. Interestingly, this habit goes back to their ancestors. Wolves, long before dogs became domesticated, would stretch before hunting or defending their territory. For them, being physically prepared could mean the difference between survival and danger. Isn't it fascinating how instincts from thousands of years ago still shape the small things dogs do today? Stretching is also essential after long periods of rest. When dogs wake up from a nap or in the morning, their muscles have usually tightened during sleep. This is why that iconic full-body extension, often accompanied by a big yawn, is so important. By stretching, Dogs are loosening up their muscles and restoring blood flow. Many people have noticed how dogs push their front legs forward and raise their hindquarters, creating a position that closely resembles the yoga pose known as downward dog. It looks relaxing, but it is actually a biological necessity. Just as humans need to shake off stiffness in the morning, dogs need this stretch to get their bodies working smoothly again. One might ask, how many of us could even begin the day properly without a good stretch? Another key part of stretching lies in its connection to overall health. A dog that stretches regularly and comfortably is usually in good physical condition. This is why pet owners are often encouraged to pay attention to their dog's stretching patterns. A change in these patterns can sometimes signal discomfort or health problems. For example, when a dog holds a stretch much longer than normal, it could mean they are trying to relieve pain in their abdomen or ease pressure somewhere in their body. Unlike humans, dogs cannot explain when something hurts, so these small behaviors become valuable clues. Doesn't it make sense, then, that noticing how a dog stretches could reveal more than meets the eye? From a medical perspective, stretching carries many advantages. It improves circulation, delivering oxygen and nutrients to muscles. It also helps reduce stiffness and speeds up recovery time between exercise sessions. Because of these benefits, veterinarians sometimes include stretching exercises in rehabilitation plans for dogs that are healing from injuries or surgeries. Gentle, guided stretching can play a role in rebuilding strength and restoring mobility. In fact, stretching not only helps younger and active dogs, but is especially important for older, overweight, or disabled dogs. For them, keeping joints loose and muscles flexible can greatly improve their quality of life. Isn't it remarkable how such a simple act can hold so much value? Ultimately, stretching is not a random or meaningless action. It is part of a dog's instinct, health, and daily rhythm. Observing it closely allows owners to connect better with their pets and understand their needs. While a stretch may look ordinary on the surface, it actually carries stories of evolution, signals about health, and reminders of how the body naturally takes care of itself. So the next time a dog pushes its paws forward, arches its back, and gives that long, satisfied stretch, perhaps the real question to ask is this: is the dog just waking up? Or is it also quietly reminding us of the wisdom of listening to the body? After all, if stretching is good enough to keep dogs healthy, why wouldn't it be just as important for us too? And that brings us to something even more fascinating, something most people never think about. Stretching is not only physical, it's also a powerful way dogs communicate. Stay with me till the end, because what you're about to discover might completely change how you see your dog the next time it bends and stretches in your direction. Stretching as a social signal. In the world of dogs, every little movement seems to carry a hidden meaning, and stretching is no exception. Many people might assume that when their dog stretches, it is nothing more than a quick way to loosen stiff muscles or wake up from a nap. Yet, if one pays closer attention, stretching in dogs goes far beyond the physical act. It is often a subtle but meaningful form of communication. When a dog stretches, it may be signaling peace, trust, or even affection. And that act, which appears so simple on the surface, can actually tell a much deeper story about the way dogs connect with each other and with humans. After all, if stretching were only about the body, then why would dogs often stretch right in front of their owners while locking eyes with them? Could it be that something more profound is being expressed in those moments? In dog-to-dog interactions, stretching plays an important role in keeping the peace. Among the clearest examples is the well-known play bow. Anyone who has seen two dogs greet each other might recall the sight of one lowering its front legs while keeping its hindquarters raised, as if bowing politely. This is not a random act. It is, in fact, one of the most universal signals of friendliness in the canine world. By doing this, the dog is effectively saying, "I come in peace and I want to play." In contrast to aggressive displays where a dog tries to look bigger and more intimidating, the stretching bow makes the dog appear open, relaxed, and approachable. It creates an atmosphere of safety, making it clear that no harm is intended. The gesture is often paired with other friendly signals, such as a loose, wagging tail, ears that are not pinned back, and a slightly open mouth. Together, these signals form a package of reassurance. Wouldn't it be fascinating if humans also had such clear body language that could instantly diffuse tension in new encounters? Interestingly, the play bow is not always straightforward. Sometimes what looks like a play bow is actually what experts call a bounce. This is a slightly different variation where the dog uses the same stretching posture but keeps its weight balanced, allowing it to pull back quickly if the situation becomes uncomfortable. In this way, dogs cleverly maintain both friendliness and self-protection. They keep the option of retreat open while still extending an invitation to interact. This shows just how sophisticated canine body language truly is. It is never just about one signal, but about how that signal fits into a larger conversation. When it comes to bonding with humans, stretching takes on an even more heartwarming meaning. Many dog owners notice that their pet stretches toward them in a way that feels almost like a greeting. Scientists have studied this and found that dogs often perform what is known as the greeting stretch, primarily with people they love and trust. This means that when a dog stretches upon seeing its owner, it is not simply waking up its muscles, but communicating affection. Some even refer to it as the "I love you" stretch. How touching is it to think that a dog chooses to greet its person in such a deliberate and affectionate way? At times, a dog will go even further, placing its paws on its owner while stretching forward. This is not just a physical act, but an affiliative behavior meant to strengthen the bond. By leaning in, the dog is essentially saying, "I feel safe with you. You are my person." For many people, this feels like the canine equivalent of a hug. In fact, dogs may also incorporate scent marking during this stretch. Since their paws contain scent glands, pressing them against their owner is a way of leaving a personal mark. It is as though the dog is proudly declaring to the world, "This human is mine." Does that not make one rethink the meaning of a simple stretch? This stretching behavior is also a powerful sign of trust. Dogs are exposing parts of their body that would normally be vulnerable if danger were present. Their posture is relaxed. Their eyes show anticipation of positive interaction, and they approach without fear. Such vulnerability would never occur in front of a stranger or a potential threat. This is why experts often say that the greeting stretch is reserved for loved ones. When a dog does it, the message is profound. It feels secure and connected. Yet it is also important to remember that every dog is unique. Some dogs may stretch often as a greeting, while others may rarely do so, saving it only for their closest companions. This variation is a reminder that, just like humans, dogs have personal quirks and preferences. Understanding a dog's stretching means looking beyond the stretch itself and paying attention to context. For instance, the position of the tail can reveal much about a dog's emotional state during a stretch. A neutral tail with a gentle wag signals friendliness, while a stiff high tail may suggest arousal or tension. On the other hand, if the tail is tucked between the legs while the dog stretches, this can indicate fear or submission. Pair this with eye contact, or the lack of it, and one can get an even clearer picture. Dogs who make comfortable eye contact while stretching are usually secure, but if the dog avoids eye contact or shows the whites of its eyes, stress or unease may be involved. Isn't it remarkable how a gesture as simple as stretching can hold so many shades of meaning? Timing also matters greatly. A stretch after a long nap or early in the morning is different from a stretch offered right when the owner walks through the door. Similarly, stretching after vigorous play is about physical release, whereas stretching at the sight of a beloved person is about connection. Some dogs even use stretching as a way of managing inner conflict. For example, a dog might stretch forward toward a treat offered by someone new, but keep its back legs planted firmly in place. This cautious stretch reveals both curiosity and hesitation. In such cases, stretching becomes a bridge between desire and fear. Of course, stretching can also point to something more serious when patterns change suddenly. If a dog begins to stretch far more often than usual, or shows signs of discomfort while doing so, it may not be about communication at all, but about pain. For instance, frequent stretching paired with a hunched back can suggest abdominal discomfort, while stiffness during stretching might indicate arthritis. Even more concerning is the so-called prayer position, where a dog stretches with its front legs extended and rear end raised, especially if it is combined with vomiting or distress. This could signal dangerous conditions like pancreatitis or bloat, which require immediate veterinary attention. This shows the importance of knowing what is normal for one's own dog. Only by observing daily patterns can an owner spot unusual changes that might point to illness. At the end of the day, stretching is far from a meaningless or random act in dogs. It is a layered form of expression that can reveal affection, trust, playfulness, or even pain. When a dog greets its human with that special stretch, it is often offering something deeper than a simple physical motion. It is making a statement of connection, comfort, and belonging. By paying attention to these moments and the little details that surround them, owners can better understand what their dogs are truly saying. And really, is that not the essence of a strong bond between humans and animals, learning to listen even when no words are spoken? Which brings us to something many owners overlook but should never ignore. That little stretch your dog does when you walk into the room. Stick around until the very end, because what that stretch reveals about your relationship might just change the way you see your bond forever. What your dog's stretch says about your bond. The stretching behavior that dogs often display in front of their owners may look like a simple physical movement, but in reality, it represents a profound window into the kind of relationship that exists between human beings and their canine companions. Many people see it as nothing more than a casual stretch after rest. But those who have spent enough time with their dogs begin to notice that it carries much deeper meaning. It is not just the loosening of muscles or the easing of stiffness from lying down. Rather, it becomes a silent conversation between two species who have, over time, found a way to understand one another without needing words. When a dog stretches as soon as it sees its owner, it is not simply imitating what humans might do in the morning. It is signaling comfort, safety, and a unique form of affection. But then one may ask, why would such a simple action hold so much weight in the bond between a person and their dog? Stretching as a behavior gradually takes on the qualities of a ritual. When one lives with a dog, certain small acts that seem ordinary at first begin to transform into meaningful exchanges. The greeting stretch is often one of those moments. It happens when the owner walks through the door after a long day or when they both wake up to a new morning. In the beginning, it may seem random, but soon the pattern becomes clear. The dog begins to anticipate the moment, and the owner does too. Before long, it becomes almost expected, like a daily ritual that both sides look forward to. This repetition is what strengthens the connection between them. It creates a sense of predictability, and dogs thrive on predictability. In fact, some owners even respond with their own playful stretches, creating a mirrored behavior that turns the exchange into a synchronized greeting. How interesting is it that two very different species can find such a rhythm in each other? The bond becomes more than just companionship. It turns into a shared language of gestures and routines. But why is it that a dog does not offer this same greeting to everyone it meets? If stretching were just a physical need, one might expect dogs to display it openly around anyone. Yet, observation reveals that this greeting stretch is often reserved for familiar people. The dog is selective, choosing to perform this posture only around those it truly trusts. It is almost as if the animal understands that to show its body in such a vulnerable position requires safety. A stranger who enters the home may never see this ritual at all. In fact, many dogs remain cautious around unfamiliar faces, holding back their unique ways of showing affection until trust has been built. This selectiveness is not accidental. Research suggests that dogs engage in these stretches based on the quality of the relationship and their perception of security. It means that when your dog greets you with this special stretch, it is not just stretching, it is announcing, "I trust you. I feel safe with you. You are my family." Could there be a clearer sign of belonging than this quiet, wordless gesture? The meaning of the greeting stretch goes even deeper when one considers the balance it shows between emotional and physical harmony. On the surface, stretching seems purely physical, a way for muscles to loosen and joints to prepare for movement. But when tied to a greeting ritual, it takes on emotional layers as well. For a dog to choose this posture at the moment of seeing its owner means the animal is entirely at ease in that presence. It is both a display of trust and an expression of comfort. The dog is not bracing itself for danger, nor is it trying to protect itself from uncertainty. Instead, it offers a posture that leaves its body open and relaxed, revealing that it perceives no threat. How does such harmony develop? It does not appear overnight. It grows slowly through repeated positive interactions where the dog learns that its human is gentle, predictable, and consistently responsive to its needs. Over time, the dog associates the human with safety, and from that foundation, a bond that transcends words is formed. This stretch becomes the outward sign of an inner truth, the secure attachment built through shared days, nights, and countless small acts of care. One cannot ignore the fact that this behavior, though subtle, holds within it the history of domestication itself. For thousands of years, dogs have adapted to live alongside humans, learning to read their gestures, moods, and routines. In return, humans have learned to interpret the silent messages of their dogs. The greeting stretch can be seen as one of those signals shaped by evolution and daily life. It is both a survival mechanism and an emotional bridge. Dogs, by stretching, not only prepare their bodies but also signal non-aggression, friendliness, and readiness for social interaction. When directed at their trusted human, it becomes layered with affection. In a way, this small action carries the story of an ancient partnership. Could one think of a more symbolic gesture of companionship than this simple stretch that means so much? Owners often find joy in recognizing these signals, for they reveal the emotional world of their dogs. When a person sees their dog stretch at their arrival, they do not just witness a casual movement. They feel acknowledged, welcomed, and even loved. It is as if the dog is saying, "You are finally here, and I am happy to see you." In the eyes of the owner, this small ritual becomes one of the most cherished parts of living with a dog. Over time, it becomes woven into the rhythm of daily life, so much so that its absence might even feel unusual. Imagine walking into the house and not being greeted with that familiar stretch? Would it not feel as if something important was missing? Furthermore, the stretch tells a story of health and well-being. A dog that stretches comfortably in its owner's presence is not only emotionally secure, but also physically at ease. The body is relaxed, the muscles supple, the joints functioning well. In contrast, a dog that is tense or unwell may avoid such movements. Thus, this ritual can even serve as an indicator of a dog's overall state. Owners who pay attention to it may notice changes over time that reflect their pet's physical or emotional condition. Is it not fascinating that such a simple gesture can communicate so much about both mind and body? In the grander picture, the greeting stretch is more than a personal ritual. It reflects the essence of companionship between humans and dogs. It shows how two beings can form a connection where silence speaks louder than words, and small actions carry immense meaning. It is a reminder that relationships are often built not on grand gestures, but on the quiet, consistent exchanges that build trust. The stretch is a token of trust, a marker of routine, and a symbol of harmony. Every time a dog greets its owner with this movement, it reaffirms the bond, making it stronger, deeper, and more enduring. When one looks closely, one realizes that the stretch is not only about muscles, it is about memory, trust, and love. And is that not what every human-animal bond truly seeks to embody? If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you on our next video.